Yeah, indeed. So we did stool collections at baseline and at 12 weeks consistently throughout the population. We didn't do any distal time points for stool collection, just because it's challenging, right, to make comparisons. At that distal time point, we have some attrition earlier on in the study and so forth. So, in any case, we did see shifts at that 12-week mark. What I will say is that, I think our strategy is a good one in the sense that we're maintaining therapy with CBM588 until the time of progression. We're not seeing any new toxicity signals from it. We don't necessarily see that patients derive more toxicity or cumulative toxicity over time. I think this is going to be a much more viable strategy than dietary modifications. I think we know from many studies now that it's really tough for folks to adhere to a novel dietary regimen for longer than a couple of weeks. I also think that this stands to benefit over the FMT or the stool transplant studies in the sense that, again, here you have an easily sourced, sustainable product versus stool, which, I can see that there's lots of sourcing issues around.
Okay. And then in terms of the phase 3 trial, Monty, my understanding is that it's going to be essentially all regimens, and is that going to make it very difficult for us to determine, that feels quite heterogeneous. So how are we going to know the impact of the CBM588 rather than the impact of whatever combo, or have we streamlined it more than that now?
Ricky, I'll go on record as saying as I hated this modification to the study. When I had worked on the study originally with Pedro, we said, okay, we're going to do a clean trial. We're either going to pick Cabo-Nivo or Nivo-Ipi and run with it, right? And what happens, I don't know if it's the same for like CRUK trials, but you go through these various layers of approval, right? And so, at the outset, it got changed by our group to, including all checkpoint inhibitor based regimens at the level of SWOG. It went to a group called the National Cancer Institute Task Force, got changed back to my design originally. Then it went to the GU steering committee, it got changed to this the same design again, where you have every checkpoint inhibitor under the sun incorporated in every regimen. I think it's going to be, maybe an Achilles heel for the trial, to be honest with you. I really don't like it. I think that the outcomes of regimens like Len-Pembro and, Nivo-Ipi are so disparate, right? It's going to be hard to put them in one pot. So I was a staunch advocate for just having a single checkpoint inhibitor-based control arm. And we are stratifying based on IO versus IO VEGF TKI. I just don't think it's enough. So, and the reason I'm being so vocal about it now is that I just don't want this to be the nail in the coffin for CBM588. I think there's worth it exploring this in other settings and better designed trials than what we've ultimately come up with, but it is what it is.